Hello and welcome back, fellow pipers or pipe enthusiasts, to another of my pipe videos. I do appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for all the lovely comments that people have put on these videos. It's lovely to see you. Well, not that I actually see you, but you know, to have that sort of connection. Today I'm going to be smoking a meerschaum pipe. This was given to me by a friend of mine called Guy, and he found it in a second-hand shop, and I think he only paid a small amount of money. I've only smoked it once, and when I smoked it, sadly, it got a slight crack, or at least I think it was as a result of me smoking it. It may have been like that. I can't even see the crack at the moment. It seems to have disappeared. It may be that it just got too hot. But anyway, I'm going to smoke that. Now, I'd just like to say, inspired to smoke this particular pipe, I'm going to show you something else that I want to show you in a minute. But also because it's a meerschaum, and I do like meerschaum pipes, by Father John. If you haven't watched Father John, delightful chap. His channel is A Parson's Progress, and I just enjoy watching him. He is at the moment in Shropshire, in the middle of nowhere, near the Long Mynd, as I gather, in his own little hermitage. And he's out there in the elements, planting tobacco and meditating. And he does his videos chatting to us, and he smokes a pipe. And he's fascinating character. He's also writing a book, writes poetry. And at some time, I would very much like to go and meet him, really. I've been following him for a while, on and off, but he was up in Yorkshire, but he's moved down now to Shropshire, and he's got this tumbled down, literally tumbled down cottage, and he's living in a caravan whilst he does it up. But he's living the dream. He's living the dream I have, anyway, of certainly living in the middle of nowhere, remotely, and able to just sit out on his veranda, look at the beautiful landscape around that part of the world, and smoke his pipes. And he was looking at meerschaum pipes and talking about meerschaum pipes, and he's a jolly old chap. And it inspired me to pick this one off the shelf. And thank you to Guy, who handed me this. So what am I going to smoke today in today's little rambling chat? This is a Robert McConnell, the original Maduro, I think it's pronounced, Maduro. I've been smoking it most of this week, actually, so I'm hoping, and I kept thinking, I hope I've got enough left for when I make the video this week. And I'm going to be smoking that. As you know, I get rid of the awful messages from ye olde government, who's trying to tell us and they think they know better. By the way, it's Mother's Day today, according to my diary. My poor old mum is no longer with us, although she may be here in spirit. Bless her cotton woolen socks. Ethereal cotton woolen socks, I dare say they are. Anyway, so I'm thinking of my mum today, who has not been with us for about 4 years now, I think. Something like that. It's amazing how time passes. My father went first, then my mum, and now I'm sort of effectively the head of the family, which is a great responsibility that I never really wanted. This is a dark tobacco. I don't really know what's in it. I'm not one of these that goes into the nth degree. I'm just trying different tobaccos to find the one that I like. I do like this one. It does give you quite a strong nicotine hit. And actually, I'm somebody who enjoys. I didn't think I would, because I was never a smoker most of my life. As you know, I dabbled with a bit of pipe smoking in my 30s, 30 odd years ago, and dabbled with that, but I don't take it down. And at the time I thought, I'm too young to smoke a pipe. And of course, everyone was telling you how awful it is, smoking, and how dreadful. And the government, of course, are pushing that, and I've just come to the conclusion that anything the government tell you to do, you want to do the exact opposite. And in fact, on that note, isn't it funny? I keep seeing advertisements for little pills, nicotine pills. We're all told that nicotine's addictive, and then there's all this sort of nicotine pill, so I don't quite know what's going on really. But anyway, this is a nice tobacco. I like this. Gives you it's I don't think it's an aromatic, although it's supposed to have got a topping of rum on it, and it is lovely. I'm beginning to really like this one. It's a good wake up one. You know, you don't want to see a kick in the face in the morning. Smoke a bit of this. This is it's some sort of chap with a turban on and a big gruesome beard, and whatever this thing is on the side there. I'll put pictures up, of course. But anyway, I thought I would do this, and it's got this. I think this is some form of plastic shaft on the top there. Hang on, that's the shank, that's the shaft, isn't it, or the stem, and that's the bowl. I'm still learning. What do I know? Anyway, let's get the lighter going and get some puffs up. There is something about a meerschaum pipe. I don't know what it is. I like briar, and I like meerschaum. Obviously, it's a bit heavier for clenching in your teeth. And as you know, talking and pipe smoking, they kind of go together, but they don't, if you see what I mean, because the pipe constantly goes out, as you know. But that's part of the fun, you know. I think it's part of the fun is relighting the pipe. I love it. It's a bit of a noisy one this morning. I've also got a cup of coffee on the go to enjoy. Now, I'm going to show you something in a minute. Just get this going. You see, it's very nice watching Father John, watching other people who are smoking pipes. I just appreciate the relaxed atmosphere of these sort of YouTube videos, because unlike, you see, I come from a sort of professional entertainment background and then into video making, and I used to do corporate videos for my sins. And there was all that sort of, you know, get the message out, get quick, be, you know, professional and all of this. And what I love now in my maturity is a much more laid back approach to life and everything. And it is that thing, isn't it, that as you get older, you suddenly realise actually what's important. And you kind of think, I wish I knew this when I was in my youth. The sort of slowing down, the being present is so much important. And that's what pipe smoking for me does, as I've often waffled on about. We're getting there. We're getting there. It's quite dry, this tobacco. I don't know whether it's supposed to be dry. There's Cavendish in it, and as a result, it's quite smoky, and I do like that. How about that? Anyway, I wanted to thank the viewer who suggested in removing the labels from the tins. And I do like the tins, although, and thank you to everybody who's been suggesting all the different things that they do with their tins. The viewer who said, use a hairdryer to get the labels off. My lovely partner, Julia, she brought her hairdryer around, and we did it, we tried it. And it was so quick. Now, before I was boiling water and immersing these in water and then trying to get them and scraping it, and the glue was very hard to remove. But the hairdryer, it just bing, comes off so easily. So thank you very much for that. This is where the viewers, you know, they're just so brilliant. And it's really nice to be able to sort of read those comments and understand how other people do things. This is going, you can hear the draw, can't you? And sometimes I feel that draw is too much, and then I tamper it down too hard, and then it sort of, blocks. Last week I had Samuel Goldwith's Black Cavendish. I think it was Black Cherry Black Cavendish. And it was nice, but the cut must have been at the bottom of the bag when they put it in the tin, because I found that much of it was dust. Much of it was too fine, and it was going up the flue straight into my mouth or blocking the pipe, which was irritating. Right, now, without further ado, you know I like books. I'm drawn to books, and I surround myself with books. My house is covered in books, although not very many books in the kitchen or in the bathroom. But everywhere else there seems to be books. I hadn't got very many pipe books. And I was looking around because I'm wanting to write a book about a chap who discovers pipes for the first time, and sort of wouldn't be autobiographical, but I've spoken about this, and I think we don't promote the pipe enough. I mean, we're doing our best to promote the sort of meditative, cogitative, is that a word, cogitative? This sounds a very funny word, doesn't it, cogitative? But that slowing down, ethereal nature of it. There's something between the smoke and the pipe and the tobacco and everything else. I don't know what it is. It is an amazing thing. Anyway, I don't have enough pipe books, or any, so I bought this. This is the pipe book written by Alfred Dunhill in 1924. It was then re-released by his son, Alfred H. Dunhill, in 1969. And it wasn't quite what I was expecting. I thought it would be a book about briars, meerschaums, different types of wood that you could use, the shapes and all of that, being Dunhill. And then I thought it would talk about the different tobaccos and that sort of thing. Not at all. Quite a surprise. It talks about the different types of pipes there are, for sure, and the people around the world in olden days, and going back to ancient times, who smoked pipes and the type of pipes they smoked. So reeds and earth pipes, mound pipes, I was reading about. Pipes from the far north, the indigenous American population, Red Indians as they call it in the book. I don't know that we're supposed to call that now these days, what with our, we've got to be so careful what you say. But he calls them Red Indians. And Chinese, India, gourds, all sorts of amazing pipes, water pipes and everything. And it's what is interesting, I think, is it shows you just how ancient the art of smoking and the benefit that people have thought. And they smoke various different things, but tobacco keeps coming, is the number one. And it has to be, I think, for the nicotine that you get from it. And I wanted to read you a little bit right at the beginning, because I think it's just lovely. And it's on page 18. And I made a note. And so the bit I want to read to you, with your indulgence, is it's a French writer who's visiting England, and he notes a number of things. I've got another book somewhere of a French writer, and I don't know whether it's from the same book. And he goes around England and he notes stuff about the English. And I think that's very lovely, because it's interesting to get a foreigner's perspective on the English nation, because they're not inside the goldfish bowl, if you like. They're looking in and going, goodness, their customs for this is very different from ours, and how ridiculous it is, or how inspiring it is, whatever, So I can't remember exactly now when he was writing, but it was obviously prior to 1924 when this was first published. Let me just have another puff. This is quite a deep bowl, and I didn't actually fill it all the way up, which is very remiss of me, because I'm enjoying this. The original Maduro. What a lovely name. So anyway, this is a French chap writing, and the quote goes like this, which I think you'll enjoy. Less than 50 years, however, after the death of King James, a French visitor, here we go, to England has occasion to exclaim at the extraordinary prevalence there of smoking. The supper being finished, he writes, they set on the table half a dozen pipes and a packet of tobacco for smoking, which is a general custom, as well with women as with men, who think that without tobacco one cannot live in England, because, they say, it dissipates the evil humours of the brain. When the children went to school, they carried in their satchel a pipe, which their mother took care to fill early in the morning, it serving them instead of breakfast, and at the accustomed hour everyone laid aside his book to fill his pipe, the master smoking with them and teaching them how to hold their pipe and how to draw the tobacco, thus habituating them to it from their youth, believing it absolutely necessary for a man's health. Isn't that delightful? There's such an endorsement of the pipe and smoking, and it's interesting. So in the time of King James, which is what, 16 something or other, so what is that, 400 odd years ago? And I love the idea that children, obviously not infants, but children of a certain age, you know, I don't know, 9, 10, something like that. Well, before they were, I guess before they were then required at around that age to go and be, what's the word, that they are not shackled to their masters, but they are, I forget the term. How irritating is that? When the children were sent off to go and get a trade, you know, and they would be anyway in the indemnified. Is it not indemnified? Whatever the word is, you know, something. You're screaming at the thing now, where they were getting the job. Anyway, whatever. Before that, of course, they would have been running around the fields, removing the stones or scaring the scarecrows as labourers, as a job. But going to school, I love the idea that they go to school and at the allotted time, the master says, right, okay, everybody, take out your pipes. We are now going to smoke, and I'll teach you how to smoke your pipe. And one wonders if they had clay pipes back then, simple clay pipes, and how many kids would have broken the damn things. It would have been hilarious. And of course, I used to find clay pipes when I used to live near a farm as a kid, and the plough would bring them up to the surface, and sometimes you'd see clay pipes modelled a bit like this one. This is meerschaum, as I said, but you'd get some sort of faces on them, claws and dragons and all sorts of things, but mostly they were just the simple pipe. And you can imagine the ploughman there behind his horse, you know, pipe in hand. Perhaps it snaps or something happens, he chucks part of it away. And it's interesting that in those days, like the children in the book there, it says that they had their pipes pre-filled by their mother, that you could buy pipes filled. I think that's marvellous. It's marvellous. And I do want to commission Chris from Heriot Pipes to get a pipe, you know, to have a pipe commissioned. It would be a big step for me to have that, but it would have a place of honour here in my abode. But to have him fill it with his favourite tobacco when he sends it off, just, you know, one bowlful. I think that could get through customs or whatever it has to do. Would be absolutely fantastic. I'm struggling today a bit. This is only the second time I've smoked this pipe. there is something rather pleasant. I don't know what it is about smoking it yourself, but also watching it. And it's a very personable thing to do, isn't it, with another pipe smoker, to share your tobacco. I think that's a very generous, especially now with the price of the bloody stuff, but to share your favourite blend and discuss the merits of it and the merits of your pipe and all of that. I mean, it's a sort of very niche thing these days. But every book that I read from the old days, and I love reading books from the sort of 1930s and that sort of period, everybody smoked a pipe, you know. And tobacco was plentiful. It may not have been as diverse, perhaps, as we have it these days with the toppings and various things in them. But and of course, I suppose people just bought quite a large quantity and it would see them through the day. And as it says, you know, the kids had it instead of breakfast. And it is an interesting thing because it does quell hunger. And if I'm tempted, you know, to go and have a chocolate bar, which I'm not so tempted these days, I don't really need sugary things, thank goodness, or to eat just for the sake of it. And if you're sitting at the typewriter, well, word processor, you can sort of, you know, get a bit fiddly, can't you? And you see in these big, these floors in corporations where they're selling stuff, these big open plan, and they've got cakes and all sorts of sugary drinks, that sort of stuff to try and keep them tied to their desks. Well, a pipe, you know, they should all be smoking pipes because a pipe will quell that hunger and you're not ingesting all that sugary nonsense. I don't put sugar in my coffee. I very rarely have sugar these days. I mean, there's enough sugar in natural fruits and things. But every now and again, of course, if you can get round the sugar, I'm at a loss of words today. I'm not being very eloquent. If you can get round the need to have sugar, and now I've forgotten what I was going to say. If you can get round the need for having sugar, oh, I've lost it. I've lost it. If you can get round it, oh yes, then occasionally it's a nice treat, you know. And I've, on my wood-burning stove thing here, I've made flapjacks, and they're lovely, you know, homemade flapjacks without all the preservatives and all the other nonsense that they put in. It is rather nice. So yes, Mother's Day. Excuse me, Mother's Day. So I don't know whether you ever, if your mum has passed and is no longer with you, whether you ever feel a sense that your parents are with you, your mum and dad, looking down. And I often think, would she be proud of me? Would she have thought, I'm happy for the life that my son is leading? I often see my father in the mirror looking back at me. My mother, on the other hand, bless her, she was an alcoholic. She didn't have a very good life, I don't think. And she was an orphan, and she had this woman that used to visit her. She never knew who she was when she was in the orphanage. It was just a kindly woman that would occasionally take her out and buy her things and come back. And then later on she found out it was her mother. It was her mother who'd put her into this orphanage. She wasn't dead, you know, like an orphan has no mother because they're dead. But and it's very sad. And she was in a orphan that was run by nuns, and she said they were awful. She got locked. She was a very independent character, and she got locked in the boiler room, which must have been so frightening and scary, you know, locked away from everybody else because she'd done something that the nuns deemed as not proper. And so she was locked in there, and she was scarred really. And I think that when she took up drinking, it was a way of a release for her, bless her. And the devil, not that I believe the devil actually exists as as a thing. That's just my own personal belief. But the mind and the subconscious and the treatment, it was coming out through alcohol. It made our childhood not terribly good. That's true. My sister and I, and we would come home from school and we would wonder, you know, this is like a 6-7-year-old coming home from primary school, wondering whether mother had been drinking, because that would just change the whole evening. It was a Jekyll and Hyde, and it was, yeah, it was, I mean, I kind of eradicated that because I'm quite an optimistic, outgoing sort of person, and I don't think it's overly affected me, but maybe it does. But when I think back to my former self coming home, I do feel that dread of thinking, is she drunk? And then when finding out that she has been drinking, the sinking stomach feeling. I don't drink very much. I drink a little bit. You know, I have a great respect, as a sailor has for the sea, knowing how it can turn and swallow man, the swell of the ocean and what it can do and how easily you can lose your life or fall overboard, you know, having a respect for it, but perhaps not a fear if you know how to deal with it. And so I don't fear alcohol, and I enjoy the odd tipple, a bit of whiskey or a brandy. As I said before, I like it neat. But I don't like getting drunk. I don't like being inebriated. Julia and I were in a little corner shop actually buying some whiskey. And there were 3 young women. I say young, I mean they were in their 30s, so not sort of teenagers. They were already drunk, and they were obviously having a bit of a party. You know, you can't blame them in this world of hardship at the moment. And they were already drunk, but one of them said, they said some very silly things. One of them said they didn't like having a hangover, but they were buying more alcohol, you know, and they were going to get laced up. And the other one said, oh, when I go out, I aim to go out and get completely blatted. And isn't it funny how some people think that they've had a good night if they can't remember what happened? I think that's very sad, really. I think alcohol has its place. You know, it relaxes you. It's not as grim as people make out. It has its place, and it can be a very good thing, but it's very easy to abuse it. Like most things. Smoking, again, you know, it has its place. It's a relaxant, it's a stimulant, I think it's actually quite good for you, the nicotine in our receptors. I think that's very good. And as it's, you know, people have been smoking pipes for peace, for personal satisfaction, for contemplative reasons, to become one with their maker, whom and whatever that is. And I think a lot of these things, they're on the earth. They've been placed there, this stuff, for us to use for our benefit. And it's just a question of drawing the line, isn't it, I think? Anyway, I do enjoy this pipe. I don't think I packed it terribly well. And, of course, talking hasn't helped. But I'm enjoying this tobacco. I would definitely buy that again. And I've enjoyed speaking with you. I'm struggling with my lighter. And I enjoy all your comments, so thank you for that. And keep up the good work. Yes, if you've got any book recommendations, I would be fascinated to know. I was in mid-flow just then. This must have lasted much longer than I expected, and I apologise for that. The camera just suddenly said you've had the maximum amount of time in one recording. I don't know what I was waxing lyrical about, but there we are. I better finish it here. I think I was saying that I was finding excuses to sit and smoke my pipe more than ever, to do nothing really, basically, and to be more contemplative. And whilst I'm trying to declutter myself and my life so that I can get out and move into my own hermitage, pipes, tobacco and books are very much welcome in my life. Thank you for watching. Take care. I'll see you next time.